If you're a beginner investor and you want an effective and simple way to invest across the whole world, enabling you to sit back and not worry about losing your money if a single company goes bust or individual sector performs badly, whilst being reassured that you won't be missing out on the next big growth opportunity, then this video is for you, as we'll be looking at 4 of the best global passive index funds that provide investors with fantastic diversity by tracking and replicating the returns of the best known global indexes, such as the FTSE All World Index and MSCI All Country World Index. Global indices are extremely broad, and the funds in this video include just about every medium or large size company of note, from both developed world and emerging market regions. That would include the likes of potential powerhouses China and India. And the funds I've shortlisted are a perfect solution for many long-term investors as a simple, low-cost passive one-stop global portfolio solution, giving investors access to the shares of thousands of companies in just one purchase. I've chosen these 4 funds using my beginner-friendly guide that considers matters including the overall costs, past performance, fund size and availability on lower cost platforms. So in this video, I'll walk you through each passive tracker fund, explain why it has made my shortlist and highlight the key things beginner investors should look for when making your own comparisons. And once we've gone through all 4, I'll bring everything together in a visual side-by-side comparison to help you with your ongoing research, and all of the data that I use in today's video will be taken from a comparison site called jestetf.com. There are a few subtle differences in the indexes that the funds featured in this video track, but they are generally small and include the number of companies included. There are generally more companies in the FTSE All World Index, for instance. How each provider classifies countries. For instance, South Korea is a developed world country under FTSE All World, but still emerging market region under MSCI All Country. And there are tiny variations in sector and regional weightings. That's the proportion that a particular regional sector might occupy within the index. But for most long-term investors, each behave very similarly, with very little difference in performance. You might have noticed that I keep on referring to the 4 funds featured in this video as passive. This is because they just try to track a specific index to provide its return, and not to do anything out of the ordinary to try and beat it. If you're happy with the returns that the many companies in the index provide, then choose passive funds over their active counterparts, as active funds will come with higher costs and more risk as they try to better their benchmark index, something they rarely manage to do over any significant period. So with all that now clarified, let's move on to the first of the 4 passive funds I've shortlisted to find out which global fund is the best for you. And the first thing to note is that even if 2 similar funds track the same index, there could be a different cost for investors. And I've deliberately excluded the expensive ones from this video. There are definitely no active ones here either. Keeping investing costs low should be a #1 priority for investors and will be a big part of your formula to financial success. I recently purchased a low price but very good financial planner subscription and was surprised when I played with the figures by how higher fees can significantly affect your future objectives, far more adversely than, say, a market crash or investments that perform poorly over long periods of time. Here you can see in the bottom graph that bigger fees cause a shortfall in my plan. So at the top of my beginner friendly guide is to keep costs low. Do this initially by ensuring that you only consider passive funds and then compare the fund's administration fee. This is often referred to as an ongoing charge figure, OCF, or total expense ratio, TER. And with the first featured fund, which is the Vanguard FTSE All World ETF, that comes with an identification code of ticker of VWRP, you can see that the OCF is a low 0.19%. To put that into some sort of context, that's £19 annual fee for every 10,000 invested in the fund. This is reasonable. There are cheaper, but low cost is not the only reason that this ETF has made my shortlist. Because for many people just starting off with investing, the trust and reassurance that Vanguard name brings can be the most important thing. And Vanguard are the pioneers of the passive index fund, where in 1974, John Bogle, an American investor who believed that most active fund managers failed to beat the market after fees, founded the Vanguard Group, a company uniquely owned by its own fund investors, allowing it to operate at extremely low cost. In 1976, he launched the first Vanguard fund available to everyday investors tracking the S&P 500. His philosophy: don't try to beat the market, own it. Keep fees tiny, stay invested longer term, and let compounding do the work. Vanguard has grown into an enormous company, being the largest provider of mutual funds, and is one of the biggest investment managers on the planet, with about 12 trillion worth of assets under management. Vanguard are known for reasonable low cost, transparent index funds, and the trust factor really matters when you're starting out. Better to be reassured enough to invest in the first place with a reasonably priced fund, rather than keep putting things off and maybe never getting into the market, right? I've therefore primarily included this one because Vanguard, given their size and good reputation, is a brand that provides investors with reassurance and might help you to get started if you are unsure. It is, however, worth noting that the FTSE All World Fund is not the cheapest of all, and I will provide cheaper options a bit later in this video. But it has been the highest performing FTSE All World ETF over the last 5 years, although there's not a great deal of data to compare it with, as other similar funds have not been around that long. In any case, past performance isn't a reliable indicator of what might happen in the future, hence the bottom position ranking it finds itself in my beginner-friendly guide. It does, however, show that Vanguard VWRP has delivered consistent long-term results with an overall return of nearly 73% over 5 years. And whilst on the subject of past performance disclaimers, please remember that this video is for financial education purposes and should not be construed to be financial advice. Being an ETF or exchange-traded fund, it's also widely available on low-cost UK investment platforms. Platform fees are the other big cost that investors could encounter if not careful. Fortunately, with ETFs, there are an increasing number of online brokers who do not charge any fees for you to purchase and hold your investments with them. InvestEngine and Trading212 being two examples, with others such as Lightyear also appearing on the market most recently. So if you're using any of these to hold VWRP, your total investing costs will be confined to the OCF of 0.19% more or less. So to recap, this first fund makes the shortlist because it's low cost, combines a trusted provider, has good past performance figures and is easily accessible, allowing you to hold it with low cost investment platforms. Before we move on, I want to quickly mention a mutual fund called the HSBC FTSE All World Index Fund, which tracks the same index but comes with a far lower OCF of 0.13%. There's very little difference in what an ETF or mutual fund would seek to do. Both the funds that track indexes, allowing investors to potentially invest across thousands of companies with just one purchase. So you might be asking why I didn't choose this cheaper one instead of the Vanguard version VWRP, if cost is a priority. Well, because it is a mutual fund, it's less available on those lower cost investment platforms as I mentioned just now, and you could therefore encounter potential additional costs of an investment platform who may charge a custody fee, whether it be monthly or percentage based, thus ultimately making your choice of fund a less cost effective option overall. I'm not saying you should rule out the HSB All World Fund, but if you do consider this or any other mutual fund as your choice, firstly check on how much it would cost to purchase and hold shares with your online platform to calculate the total investment costs. Staying with the FTSE All World Index, the next fund we are looking at is the Invesco FTSE All World ETF, ticker FWRG. I've shortlisted this one because it's the cheapest FTSE All World ETF available right now in terms of OCF or TER, coming in at 0.15%. Being an ETF, it's widely available on low-cost platforms once more, so this one could help you squeeze costs even more. The trade-off here, if that's what you want to call it, is that it's a newer fund. There's only about 3 years worth of performance data available. It has a good return of 65.71% over that short a time. Being newer doesn't make it bad, it just means we don't have the same 5 or 10 year track record to compare. However, this is not something I will be losing any sleep over, as it is already well established, with significant assets under management, and I will talk more about fund sizes in a moment. Just like the other funds mentioned so far, FWRG is an accumulation version. The funds will often offer a distribution or income format also, with the ticker for the distribution version of this one being FTWG. There is no difference between each, other than how dividends are handled. Accumulation means dividends are automatically reinvested as a perfect autopilot option for those investors who want to be totally hands-off, while distribution or income means dividends are paid out to you as cash for you to decide what to do. You can reinvest them back into the fund just like an accumulation version, but would have to do this manually. I try to choose accumulation ETFs if possible to save this hassle, but you might have different preferences or objectives as to why you want those dividends paid directly to you. And we spoke about keeping costs to a minimum through low fund OCFs and by using low cost investment platforms. But even if you do those things right, you could still come unstuck if you don't consider the currency you use when investing. To explain this more, think about when you go on holiday. Whilst away, your bank often charges you for using your card to purchase things in a foreign country and will also add on a foreign exchange conversion fee with every transaction. These charges are also applicable to investing if you decide to purchase shares in the funds that trade in other countries currencies. So for instance, this Invesco fund that we're looking at is available in different currencies and traded on various stock exchanges. So the most cost-effective version that avoids most foreign exchange fees is the one I provided, as it is the only one that trades in sterling on the London Stock Exchange. So if you buy an ETF in a foreign currency, your online broker, even if one of those lower cost platforms, will convert your money at a spread, a hidden cost. Buying a version of the fund that matches the currency already in your account avoids this. You cannot control how the stock markets perform, but one thing you can control are the various different fees you pay. As part of your control measures, Don't act like a tourist and keep foreign exchange fees as low as possible to help you get the best future returns. So to recap, this one is the cheapest ETF to track the FTSE All World Index, with availability on low-cost platforms, and even if it is new with ETF and Vanguard VWRP, it is already well established with a large fund size. Like its Vanguard competitor, VWRP, or VWRL if wanted the distributing version, it is traded in sterling on a London stock exchange, ensuring that any FX charges are kept to a very minimum. And before moving on to a fund that tracks the MSCI All Country World Index, I wanted to talk quickly about how the size of funds on your shortlist might be something for you to consider also. For instance, if I were to select funds on lowest total fee criteria alone, then the Xtrackers FTSE All World UCITS ETF, ticker ALLG, would win hands down, with its availability on low-cost platforms and with an OCF of just 0.07%. That equates to just £7 per year on £10,000 invested in it, and is less than half the cost of the next cheapest ETF, that Invesco FTSE All World ETF tracker FWRG we just mentioned. Those costs can add up over time, as mentioned earlier, so why have I not shortlisted this one? Well, in this case, it comes down to not just how new this fund is, but how much money is invested in it, as defined with the colour code of red in Just ETF's traffic light system. Red is not so good, by the way. A smaller ETF, meaning lower assets under management, usually under $100 million or roughly £80 million, can absolutely work, but it will come with specific risks and frictions that larger ETFs don't face, such as a higher risk of fund closure. Smaller ETFs often generate smaller revenues, providing lower profitability, which may lead to them consequently being shut down. In that eventuality, you don't lose all your money, but you could be forced into a taxable buy-sell event, whilst your money is then out of the market and losing valuable time before you reinvest elsewhere. It's an inconvenience and can disrupt long-term planning. You will also have wider bid-ask spreads. As small ETFs often trade less frequently, spreads can be wider. This means you pay more when buying, you receive less when selling, and investing costs could therefore start to add up. There's also potential for tracking difference or higher cost. Smaller ETFs may struggle with less efficient portfolio management and more noticeable tracking error when trying to replicate the benchmark index. But that being said, a small ETF can still be perfectly fine if it has highly liquid holdings such as US large caps, if the issuer is reputable, and if you trade in frequently as a long-term investor. I remember that many excellent ETFs, such as the Invesco FWRG, started small not so long ago, so not all are closed. But just as we spoke about the reassurance of choosing the Vanguard name as a beginner investor, you might also feel that a little extra cost to invest in something more established could be the better option for now, to ensure you don't panic or get nervous until you're more acquainted and comfortable with what you are doing. Moving on to the third fund featured, that tracks the MSCI All Country World Index, is the State Street Spider MSCI All Country World UCITS ETF with the ticker of ACWI. This is a very big established ETF with a very low OCF of 0.12% and comparable 5-year performance with the Vanguard FTSE All World ETF VWRP. You can see from the graph through using the fund data that the performance of each index is almost identical over a 5-year period at 73.68%. This fund is very reasonably priced and is the cheapest of all the established funds featured so far. For beginners who want a global fund with a longer track record but with a lower cost, this one ticks those boxes nicely. It's also widely available on low-cost platforms and is traded in sterling on the London Stock Exchange, which again allows costs to be minimised. We change benchmark index again for this final ETF to the Solactive GBS Global Markets Large and Mid Cap Index, and the only global ETF to track it, which is the Amundi Prime All Country World ETF, ticker PACW. This is the only fund featured in this video that doesn't have an accumulation version, but if that is acceptable to you, you can still get around this anomaly if your online platform, just as Trading 2 and 2 does, has an auto reinvest option, meaning that will act like an accumulation fund in any case. I had to mention this one as it has the lowest overall fund OCF so far of 0.07%. It is new, but already a very big and established fund, getting a green colour grading from Just ETF. The performance figures for this one are 46.36% for the first 2.5 years it has been trading. Just like the other indices mentioned, the Solactive GBS Global Markets Large and Mid Cap Index is a global equity index designed to replicate the performance of large cap and mid cap developed and emerging market companies. All 4 funds in this video use physical replication to track their indexes, which means they actually buy the underlying shares in the index. This is great for transparency and easy for beginner investors to understand. But this transparency can come with some extra costs, however. For instance, any dividends paid out by the US companies will incur a US withholding tax of at least 15% before the net dividend reaches your account. That could add up over time, given that the US companies in the funds account for about 60% of them. As an alternative, some ETFs use a synthetic tracking method, where a financial derivative called a swap is used. A swap is an agreement where the ETF provider gives the bank or counterparty a return on a small basket of securities it holds. These are totally separate from the index, often safer assets such as bonds. The counterparty then gives the ETF provider the exact performance of the target index, example the FTSE All World. So instead of buying all the stocks in the index, the ETF swaps the return of its holdings for the return of the index, so no actual shares are owned and no withholding tax is therefore due. The downside of this is that synthetic ETFs come with additional counterparty risk, as it's possible that the bank might default on the swap. But we are talking about multinational players here, and there will be more than one counterparty involved to diversify this risk further. And one thing not covered in this video so far is that the tax you could end up paying on your investments. This could be through capital gains, interest earnings, or on dividends. Taxes are potentially another drain on your assets and could help create a shortfall in what your plan is trying to achieve. Every person is provided with annual tax-free allowances that reset at the start of the new financial year. But the longer you invest for, the easier it is to eat into these allowances, and the harder it becomes to avoid paying tax on your assets as your portfolio grows in size. So just as choosing an investment platform with the lowest cost is important, it's also important to ensure that the accounts held with your platform are as tax efficient as possible. This will mean choosing an ISA or pension account. Each have their pros and cons, so maybe a mix of both would allow you to reap the benefits whilst mitigating your tax bill. Although any of the 4 funds featured in this video might seem like a great idea to invest in principle, it doesn't mean that they are right for you to meet your personal circumstances. Given that they are all 100% equity funds, they will potentially come with higher returns than safer assets such as cash savings, but you have to accept that you will be taking on more risk for this return. Equities are volatile in nature, and their price volatility might not be something you can stomach, especially if the thought of seeing large short-term falls in your value of investments makes you go weak at your knees. Ask yourself what you would do were the market to crash and 50% to be wiped off your savings. Better still, make use of one of those financial questionnaires that you can find online to better understand where your risk tolerance lies, before investing in something too risky, which then compels you to sell at a loss. Once you have found a level of risk that you are comfortable with, use my beginner-friendly guide to help you shortlist suitable funds. Set a regular, achievable amount to invest in your ultimate fund of choice and try to automate the process through direct debit or standing order. Then just sit back, relax, and leave your investments to grow, without checking too regularly, and especially not when adverse news is around, maybe every 6 months to a year. Here's a comparison grid of the 4 funds covered today, so you can see the key differences at a glance, and I hope this video has given you a clear idea of what to look for when you're comparing funds for yourself. Remember, the goal isn't to find a perfect fund, it's to find something simple, globally diversified, low cost, and easy to stick with for the long term. If you found this video helpful, please consider hitting the like button and to subscribing to my channel so you'll be aware when I post new content. Please also feel free to comment. I'd be really interested to know what your preferred global fund is. The next video links nicely to this one to help you with your research, as it features the best Vanguard global funds available to UK investors. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.